Hello and welcome to Lux Talk, a freeform discussion in gamings and videos, movies, and everything in between. Today is November 1st. I am your host, Sancho. With me from the community is Hyper K2.
Hello, folks.
Joining us for the first time is Battista.
Hello.
And Tykell.
Hi, I'm scared.
We are going to be talking about quite a few things today, so let's just jump right into it. Let's bring up esports. I was thinking about this today when I was just goofing around doing nothing, and I thought my theory was that esports don't have the longevity as regular sports. I mean, I'm glad that they're finally acknowledging them, but I mean, think about it. How long does a pro basketball or football player play versus some of these esports people like T-Square and all those? You never even hear about them anymore.
Depends on the game. Counter-Strike players, been playing since Counter-Strike, since the original Counter-Strike, can play all the way up to Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which span of over 10 years. I know there's one player, I can't remember his name, but he's 31 years old, and he's been playing for like 13 years. It's various first-person shooters. So I think it depends on the genre. There's a lot of Dota 2 players start when they're younger, 17, 18-ish, and finish up when they're 25-ish. Because you need to dedicate at least a few years to MOBAs to actually get good enough to make money from playing in the pro scene. So they have to forego college and their personal life for a long time. But yeah, it depends on the genre, the longevity that is.
Yeah, it also kind of depends on we have professional sports right now, like your basketball and football and all that sort of thing. It does lend itself to being able to just play a long time because, that's what you're good at and you can just keep doing it. But I feel like a lot of players, they tend to, for esports, they want to, be moving around doing different things. But I do know it is kind of... I don't think it's impossible, though, because if you have if you're good enough and the drive to do it, then you can keep going. Like, I know, for example, I think this is a good example, is the professional StarCraft player, White Raw. He's been playing for a long time. He's one of the older players of StarCraft, and he's still been kicking around because he's good, and he's been keeping at it.
But here's a question. I mean, do you feel like these esports have the longevity as, say, a major league sport? I mean, we have football and basketball, and they've been playing for almost a century, I believe. I mean, the rules have been around. Yeah, they've changed over time and everything, but I really don't see a UGC Highlander tournament of TF2 in 10, 20 years from now. I just feel the game itself will die out. There'll be another version of it. But doesn't that just kind of cut your players' length to the length of the game?
I feel like it also not only depends on the game, but how it's funded. Because if you look at League of Legends, that has a crap ton of money being poured into it, whereas if you look at other games, they don't have that. Like TF2 doesn't have all that money being put into it. So it would be more natural for it to die out faster.
I also think games like MOBAs, again, genre-based, you say it'll be a different version, but if we're talking about the same game, like as in Call of Duty 1, 2, 3, 4, Modern Warfare, all that, all the way up to Black Ops 2, all the way to Ghosts, it's not essentially the same game from COD 1 to 4, but from 4 to Ghosts, it's pretty similar. You can continue playing through that and retain a lot of your experience and knowledge of how of movement and stuff in the games. So I think while one game's not going to last as long as a football, the whole entire genre or whole entire series can last decades upon decades upon decades. Now MOBAs, though, however, can be really short. League, will last longer than Dota. Well, in the sense that their League of Legends might never make a second one, while there might be a Dota 3. Because League of Legends doesn't tend to release huge patches like Dota 2 does, like Valve does for Dota 2. Like this, well, I mean, this last patch for Dota 2 and the previous patch before that have been entire metagame changes. And if you look at the way the metagame has shifted from TI1 to TI2 to TI3, and how this last patch is going to change the metagame, which we haven't really seen yet, we'll see with TI4 unless there's another patch, a large patch in between.
Well, I think it's because League is like kind of more or less out of like development. Like Dota's still kind of in development, or Dota 2 is still kind of in development, and like I don't really follow too closely the like patches per se for League, but I don't think it'd be fair to say that they don't have big patches. But
I meant more along the lines of there's League is more the professional, especially professional and ranked. League of Legends is a lot more linear and strict than Dota 2 is.
I can say first, you're talking about like the metagame, because I do know whenever I play, because I've hopped onto both every once in a while. I played more Dota, but I've hopped onto League like a couple times in the last week. And it's really strict. Like people, when you're queuing up, they're like, "All right, I'm taking this lane, and like you have to do this specific kind of champion in this lane, and like that's it. And if you try to do anything else, they're gonna jump all over you."
Yeah, they're going to report you, and Riot actually does act on those reports. You can be banned or punished for building a hero unconventionally or a champion unconventionally.
But
back so you're not allowed to play the game your way.
Correct. Well, if you compare it to Dota 2, you can go carry supports. You can play them as carries, and like semi-professional games, you can get away with it. Or building unconventionally can actually win you games. Like you see Hands of Midas on different supports and stuff to counter different stuff in TI3. But that's kind of beside the point of what I was going for. What I was going for is that also what Hyper said, League of Legends is kind of out of development, but which means that people are going to know how to play it for longer. Like more people are going to know how to play it over a longer period of time. It's gonna remain consistent. While big patches and stuff are going to bring in and lose players and potentially pro players.
So, keeping this in the esports realm, saying that some of these leagues do stay around for quite some time, are we ever going to see like professionally funded teams? Like, I mean, look at any major league sport team. They have backers. They have people who fund them. And not just like a little bit. They pay for everything. Are we going to be seeing something like that in esports? And as well as that, are we actually going to see team trades? Like, will Dendi trade somebody on Navi or something like that? I mean...
Actually, that's already a thing.
Yeah, the Western and Eastern shuffles after TI3. In the Western, some teams completely disappeared. There's entirely new teams. There's 4 people who have left one team, leaving one original player on that team. It happens, actually, doesn't happen as often, I don't think. Well, it happens like it does in actual major sports. There's like drafts and seasons and stuff. And after TI3, there was the Eastern Shuffle and the Western Shuffle of all the teams and players. It's not necessarily have to happen. You might not lose or get any players. But it does happen. Like there's an entirely new team, the Eastern scene.
Yeah, and I do know for as far as what you're also saying with like the whole sponsorship thing, right? I think like that's already a good example. Is I do know at least in like the StarCraft pro scene, that's like there's a ton of sponsorship for like a lot of the teams. For example, like to give a good example for people, one that people might be well familiar with is Total Biscuit has a StarCraft 2 esports team that he sponsors. It's a Team Axiom, and he's putting money into that. So,
also Counter-Strike has a lot of funding. Their teams are funded really well. I can't say anything specifically, but there have been teams around for years with full funding.
So, about how long till we start seeing a Dota 2 fantasy draft league and all that? I mean, people are going to start following stats and such and playing with their friends, following TA or TI and all these other tournaments. Is that feasible for someone else to do as well? Why not set something up? It's a game, right?
Wait, elaborate?
Oh, well, I mean, for like every year we have fantasy football and fantasy baseball and fantasy hockey drafts. Are we going to be seeing like a fantasy e-sport draft? Are we going to see people picking characters from players from other teams? Like Dota actually had that in the compendium where you could pick people to do this kind of thing. I mean, that's right up there with these fantasy leagues.
Actually, if you do I just did a quick search real quick. If you go here, there's actually a fantasy StarCraft league you can do.
Ah, excellent. I won't play because I don't follow StarCraft at all, but thank you.
Yeah, I haven't really been keeping up with it like super recently, but relatively I'm probably might have a better idea of the StarCraft scene than anyone here, I think. And I would say StarCraft, while it's maybe not necessarily the most popular right now, I think it has a really good foundation in like the structure of what a proper maybe some people disagree if they know, for the people who are more in the know, but like I think it's a good basis for competitive esports because they've been kind of a forerunner, kind of like Counter-Strike, but I think a little bit more so, a little bit more organized. And I was going to just say back to the original premise of esports and the longevity of it, is that it's kind of hard to say for us right now from our perspective, because I think right now we're on like the eve, like it's just esports is just being born, as it were. Like think of like 100 years ago or whenever, when they first started doing professional sports teams. Like before then, before like the NFL and such, like a game like football, American football, like it was just a game, just like with these video games, they were just games. So it might have been hard for someone to really think like this is going to be a really big thing and it's going to keep going. So who's to say? I mean, I think as a whole, esports will probably continue to grow. Maybe not necessarily any one particular game, but like the shell of esports of just, and that's one thing that's actually neat about it as a concept, is that you can, as opposed to like a traditional games, is that you can basically still have the esports kind of shell, but like have several games in it, and they can be constantly updated because it's easier to do so.
All right, we're going to be moving on now. Let's just get into kind of an opinions and ideas factor here. We've all seen these horrible, usually directed by UA Bull, one of the worst directors in the history of anything in the universe, video games to movie adaptations. And, I mean, we're talking, he butchered, oh my god, I can't even remember the name of it. What?
All of them?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
like Ninja Turtles, right?
Well, was
that one of them?
That's Michael Bay. He's just gonna he's gonna drive that a stake into the heart of that one. But like Doom was awful. Super Mario Bros. Was by far one of the worst adaptations we have ever. Although I will guiltily admit I did kind of enjoy that movie for the sheer stupidity of it.
Well, back when with little kids, like, oh my gosh, it's Mario.
But it wasn't Mario. But all right. Anyway, so let's get some opinions. Let's get what would you want to see? What video game did you like? It really struck with you, and you're like, I want to see this as a movie. I think they could do it. What movie would that be? Like, which game to movie? And if you could think of any actors who would play those parts. I mean, there's a plethora of new actors who are coming out who are just knocking it out of the park with their just the sheer ability. But you still have the older actors, the old guard, just not ready to give up their shifts. So let's get some opinions here. We're gonna hit Tykell first with this, since she's being the most quiet.
Team Fortress. I want to see that as a movie.
Give us a premise. Let's hear this out.
That director had the work cut out for them.
And it would be awful because it would be a stalemate the entire time. And
so we're talking about like a World War II scene with Stalingrad almost.
No.
Oh, worse than Stalingrad? That was pretty freaking bad.
A World War I movie with their trenches on each side.
Well,
yeah,
the entire movie is going to be
balance.
It's going to be the internal dialogue of all the different characters. Basically, not much shooting. Like 2 bullets fire the entire time. One of the main characters dies, but the whole thing is just dialogue. Is
this going to be a drama? Is this going to be action, comedy, romance? I mean, let's just keep it G-rated, or at least not X.
I think R-rated. I mean, if you've played the game, there's a lot of blood and fire.
Yes, but it's also kind of cartoony. It's not gritty. I mean, if you want that, you have games like Counter-Strike, where it's a little more realistic looking, versus, I'm sorry, I'm a soldier and I'm going to rocket jump across the map.
Yes, however, you just brought up it being like a world war. And it being gritty and trench warfare, and so I think it would be fairly realistic.
Alright, would this be following the storyline that Valve has set forth with Manco and the two brothers feuding and all that? Are we talking about they're going up against the robots from Man vs. Machine?
I think either could be good, because Valve has set up a pretty good story for both sides of that to work. You could even have it from like the robot's perspective. It could be about Gray Man and him being like, "Rawr, I'm so smart," and just being an asshole.
Alright. Battista, fire away. Let's hear what you got. Hollywood's going to pay for this. Millions of dollars. Any actor in the world you want. It can even dig up if you have to.
Metro Last Light and Metro 2033. Well, which is based off of novels. But if you want
now, are we talking you're going to base it closely to the book, or are we going to close it more to the game? Because there was some changes they made, not big ones.
Of course. You know, I don't think it has to be related to either. I mean, which I don't think it's actually a good candidate, and I'd like to bring up another game to be made into a movie, because this isn't too good because it's already a novel, and well, it's based off a novel, which would mean that it already has like a decent potential to be made into a movie.
Which was
no. I mean, Metro already has the novel. So the other one game I want to bring up would be Portal. I would like to see a Portal movie that goes through all the connections between the Half-Life universe and the Portal universe. And everything else, anything else, actually.
So not strictly in Aperture Science with just Shell trying to get out.
Yeah, stuff like afterwards, after she gets out, after, stuff with Gordon, supposedly stuff with Gordon Freeman, stuff like that, because, there's headcrabs in the facility, there's tons of links to the Half-Life universe. I'd like to see all that explored, all those characters explored, all the links between that.
The problem is that's what Half-Life 3 is supposed to be, is the binding between those two. So
and
you already have a game in production, or in production quotation marks, for this. So, but I see what you're saying. I mean, there is good character, but which characters are we talking would be in this?
Ryan Gosling.
What if
I already
Half-Life 3
banned
is
you
actually
everything you would ever do, but are we talking about he played Gordon Freeman?
No, he'd play Shell.
That's disgusting.
No,
he played both.
As Hollywood, we're just going to pull the funding out now. It's not worth the effort.
I'm not entirely sure who would play who. I'm not really too concerned with that. I mean, there's a lot of actors who you could put in those positions. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but you could get a lot of bad actors that would ruin your movie without you even trying.
Well, we'll just hire the good ones.
What
yeah,
about,
that's good.
George Clooney as Gordon Freeman?
No,
I actually, the picture of Hugh Laurie as Gordon Freeman is awesome. I think he could do it.
That would actually be pretty good.
I can't imagine Hugh Laurie not talking, spewing.
Well, he could talk. Well, they
time.
Of course have to have him talk. You can't have a protagonist who doesn't talk.
Except they totally did.
Well, you mean in a movie setting?
Yes, in a movie. I'm not going to sit for an hour and a half
heroes.
to 2 hours looking at this guy in a power suit, and he's not going to say one damn word.
Did you like the movie Drive?
No, not
with
really.
Ryan Gosling. Okay, I loved that movie. The atmosphere was so good.
You're pushing the Gosling too much.
No,
Hyper.
I'm emphasizing the fact that your main character doesn't need to be constantly talking.
All right, we're gonna pull all the budget from Batista's horrible idea of a movie and give it to you, Hyper. What do you have for us?
All right, so my idea is it's kind of a little bit cheating because technically there already was a movie made, but it was a movie based off of the book, and it wasn't released outside. It wasn't released internationally, I don't think. And that is, I'd like to see another movie adaptation of The Witcher, which I think would be great. I think it's a great setting for a movie. I think they could really do a good job if they had the right director and everything, because it's a really interesting universe and it has some deep characters. and I think a movie of it would be pretty good. And like I said, there was apparently a movie made, but I think it looks like it was only released in Poland, or otherwise not abroad that much. At least I don't think it was released in the United States anyways. I don't know about where else.
Not with any popularity.
Yeah, but either way, I think if they made one, another one that was a little bit more available to everyone and maybe more funded, I don't know. I think it'd be a good movie adaptation because, like I said, it's got a really interesting plot and characters, and I think if they did, if somebody was the right director, they could do a really good job with it. And as far as who the main actor would be, I mean, who knows? It'd have to be someone, whoever it is, they'd have to be grizzled.
Yes.
I was just
old and grizzled.
Thinking about mine, which is I would want to probably do the Fallout New Vegas. I think there's a lot of good story there and a lot of characters, a lot of opening. I mean, the story is definitely the key part to it. The action's secondary, if you ask me. If it didn't have the story, you wouldn't want to play that game all the way through anyway. And you could even get Jason Stratham to play the Courier. I mean, talk about a guy who looks like he's been shot in the head and dug up again. I mean, he got the grit part down. I mean, hell, he'd probably be good as the Witcher, too.
I think at that point you'd have to more get the not exactly what they look like, but more how they act. Because in a Bethesda game, if you're going to make a movie about it, Bethesda games you can customize your character, so it really doesn't matter what they look like. It's more of how they act.
And did you mean Jason Statham?
Yeah, whatever. He's British. I don't know how to pronounce his name. They have funny syllable.
No,
Moon
British.
being played by Ryan Gosling.
They
They don't
English
even know how
over there. It's hard to pronounce.
properly. They add an extra letter. Aluminium. Oh, fuck off.
You mean aluminium?
Yeah, no, it's aluminum, thank you. And it's not freaking sticky tape or gaffer's tape, it's fucking duct tape. Anyway.
I'd accept sticky tape.
Okay, well, sticky tape's just fun to say. That was a nice little bit of non-purposeful chatter. We're going to move on to the next subject here, because we're way ahead of schedule, actually, so we're going to have to really stretch this one out, guys, okay? We're going to talk about virtual money. I mean, and I'm talking about
Bitcoin.
You pay money to play a game. You earn money in that game to make money in that game. For example, like Valve recently made it so that you could get some of your money back out of Steam, back into your own account, but not the full amount. We were talking about crates and everything last week. I spend X amount of money opening these things, and I can sell this item now on their market, which is fantastic. But I only can spend that money in that system. Do you feel like you should be able to actually get more of your own money back out? Would this actually help their economy or worsen it?
And I'm going to let everyone else go first, because I've got probably the best example to give. It's going to blow everyone else's out.
All right,
so
well,
you guys go
the bus first, then.
You guys go ahead, and then I'll mention mine.
No, it's alright. You can go first.
Yeah, I think you should go first.
No, I insist. Because it'll be hard to follow up talking about the subject when I've already covered the best example.
Alright.
Wow.
Either one, jump in, guys. Come on, let's do this.
So the question you're asking is, should you be able to take currency out of Steam?
Well, of anything, like say you're in World of Warcraft. You put money in the auction house. You paid money to play the game. You earn gold. Should you not be allowed to sell your own gold for X amount of money? Yeah, I get they don't want to actually have people gold farming, which is a horrible thing still, apparently. But, I mean, I paid my money. I should be allowed to take some of my money back. I'll just probably use it to play your game more, actually.
The way you're using should, I don't understand why you should be able to. Like, what makes that a right of yours?
Well, I mean, I pay a monthly fee. I've earned the money. I put the time and effort into it.
Yeah, but I mean, that's you're paying to play the game, not to like you want them to say that what you're paying for is to play the game and to potentially earn money.
Yeah, actually, while that's kind of up to them, technically speaking, what you're saying, Sandro, is when you know that little thing when they update the game and they patch it, and you go to log in, and it's like that text thing
Yes,
that pops
the
up.
user agreement and then clarification. I understand
it says
that they
in
have
there
these
that
things,
you can't
but-
do it.
Right, yes, I understand that.
But whether
But
or not
why
they should
can't
let
I?
you do
Why
it.
is that such a problem?
It's a
Yeah.
problem because what basically when they have a closed system of how much the currency they can control. Like, all right, Guild Wars, they manage the economy by charging for teleporting, like actual in-game gold. For teleporting, they post fees for putting stuff up on the trading post. That way that it's taking money out of the game, so you can't just stockpile it and lessen the value of it. Because it actually is an economy.
But don't you feel that more people would play more if they thought they could actually get something back out of it?
Yeah, of course, but that they'd make less money. It's a business. I mean, like if Steam let you actually like take the money out of the market, like out of your Steam wallet.
They do. They actually allow you to take X amount out of it. You didn't read that part of it, did you?
Part of what?
The when they started doing that. You can't make a lot of money. You can take like a very small sum out of it and put it back into your PayPal.
You can't. You can't take all of your money out. You can't sell like a $200 item and then take all your money out.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is why? But that system works for Steam. Why can't they do that in other systems?
Well, they could, but Steam has a really broad market. If it's something just like Guild Wars, where the only way you're putting money into the game is buying gems, it's... what am I trying to say? It's going to devalue it for them because, like I said, it's a closed system. You're going to allow people to make money off of the game.
But they're already making money. Yes, it's illegal in the view of the game and everything like that, but there's already people doing it. Well,
right.
If you take it away from the illegal people and you have it go through a proper system through the company, they're not able to do that anymore.
So I'd like to point you, from the sounds of what you're saying, I'd like to point you in the direction of the Diablo 3 auction house.
Which they dismantled because
and how
people
that
were
worked
farming.
out. It went terribly.
Okay, but I mean, like, let's take a look at the market for Steam right now. I can sell an item on there. They take their cut, I get X amount of money back into Steam. I don't see the problem with this. They're going to give me the item anyway, it's just randomly found half the time, or I've spent money to open a chest and find it.
I find that Steam itself is different from the economy of the game. Because the gameplay of the game matters, and there's no gameplay of Steam. It doesn't change anything in Steam. If you make money off of it, they make money off of it. But when you're taking money in and out of the game, at rates it's not supposed to be going in and out, like by the designed balance of the game, it gets weird. I can't think of any specific examples right now.
Well, there's nothing stopping people from right now going, if you're playing TF2 and you get an item and you want to sell it, there's no one stopping you from going to a community website, exchanging information, and just using PayPal. Like,
that's what already happens.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I know.
It's outside of Steam, but there you go. I mean, in a sense, it's not like officially sanctioned, but you're still
right. But I'm saying, why not make an official sanctioned thing for not, and that's more for user protection, really. I mean, like, look at how eBay bought and with PayPal and all that. They did it to protect the customers and also to cover their asses and involved. You know, jackasses are bugging Steam whenever they get ripped off, and it's not. There's nothing they can do. They're like, well, you shouldn't have done that to begin with. But I mean, if you come up with a system that covers your ass, it can work out very well.
One thing real quick, with the current way the Guild Wars works, I finally figured out what I was trying to say. You can convert the gold you make in-game into gems, which is the store currency. Like the items you can't get in-game. Yeah, that's kind of like what
Planocide does. You earn X amount of points or credits for playing.
Yeah, but they make a lot of their money from people putting physical, dollars to buy gems to get items you cannot get any other way at a faster rate. If you let them sell their gems or get rid of their gems for the money, it's going to be they're going to be making less money total because people aren't going to be spending actual cash.
Like it's going to be removing money from the ecosystem, right? Is that what you're saying?
From the market, from the economy of the game.
All right, Hyper, let's hear it.
Before I go into mine, was there any particular example that you had, Tykell, before I mentioned mine?
Just saying that with the way Valve handles things, it's probably to their benefit if they do have some kind of marketplace, because there's already a lot of trading that goes on behind the scenes that they don't get any of the profit of, so they might as well have something where they can get some money from it.
Yeah, I can see. It's just one of those things you have to be careful with. But
So what you're saying is if I want to get my damn money back, I'm going to have to go work for Valve.
yeah. But so my example is, because I don't think anyone else here played it that much, but I did play quite a bit of EVE Online, okay?
I'm sorry.
Oh god.
And there you go, right there. Basically, that game is exactly what you're talking about. Like, they don't really care if you want to, like, take your money and turn it into a Plex, which is basically game time, which is basically $15. Like, people, like, trade stuff in-game, and, like, people get quotes of, like, how much money that would be worth in real life. Like, I remember I read something, I forget the numbers, but I remember there was this big hit on this, like, caravan containing all this stuff, and I read something, like, it was like news. It was like this caravan of cargo got intercepted and destroyed, and there was estimated losses of up to like $2 million worth of, you know, goods. Like, it was so much.
It was $8,000.
Something like that. Yeah, it was like, you know, they took the ISK, which is the in-game currency, and they converted it into money, and it's like these people literally just lost that much money, technically speaking, because literally you can basically just liquidate all your assets in that game, turn it into ISK, buy the Plex, and then cash out. So that's like, it's, and they're really cool with it too. They don't care. They're like, go ahead. You can do whatever you want.
It's because even the developers don't want to sit and watch a damn screen for EVE for 9 hours.
Yeah, but I think that's basically the best example of that going on right now, I think. Although there could be other ones, but I think, for as far as I know, that's probably the best example.
Alright, we're going to...
What you were saying, there was a super carrier operated by a pretty big corporation. It was something like 300 billion ISK, which was worth about $11,000 was lost.
Yeah, that might have been it. That's a lot of money.
The money you could have gotten actually back out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go into more of a personal aspect of this conversation. We've all been gaming for a long time. Some of us a little more than others since we're old people. But what are some? You've played your friends. Your friends have always been there, and they're the ones who've challenged you or been absolutely decimated by you. We're talking console, computer, whatever it takes. What are some of the tricks you've played on your friends in order to either get a win or to stop from losing? We're going to start with you, Hyper.
Always me first, huh? Well,
thank God, because I don't remember any.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. Actually, I don't want to sound conceited here, but
don't say you've never lost.
No, it's not that I never lost, but my experience, like when I was like younger, and I had like the friend that I played video games with, like console stuff, like playing like Xbox or like Xbox One and like PS2 and stuff. Like that relationship, I ended up winning most of the time. And then because of that, he basically never wanted to play versus modes with me. So it's kind of hard to say, but I can say this, if this counts. As far as you're not really, against each other, but in the terms of, let's say you're playing Dota 2, right? And you kind of have like a friendly competition to see who does the best, right? That's when I go around as one person and they're farming ancients, and I come over and steal the last hits from them. Just, that's a pretty dirty trick, I think. That's what I do to Charlemagne all the time. Like he's trying to farm ancients, and I just walk by like, oh, I'm placing a ward here, and I'm stealing your last hit.
All right, Tykell. I know girls cheat at games the most, so let's hear it.
Wow.
Wow,
So
sexist.
speaking of Dota 2, there's this one time I got a force staff for like the first time, and I force staffed Battista into the river where he was promptly ganked. And I have never lived that down.
So this is more of trolling your friends, really, but same concept.
I didn't mean for it to be that much of a dick move, but it happened.
All right, but
You say that, but
Oh man,
being forced after the river by Tykell. Yes, we heard your story. Go ahead.
I've played a lot of games with a lot of people. Against a lot of people. I remember playing a lot of Halo and stuff.
But
on
what
Xbox,
particularly
and
would you do to your own friend just so you could get that win?
I'm trying. It's been so long since I've actually played something like that, where it's been like I can fuck over the other person to win.
if you want to have another second to think, I actually thought of something else. Actually,
Yeah, go for it.
So okay, N64. All right, some other people might have this experience. N64, Mario Party. There's always that one controller where the stick's kind of, a little loose and broken.
Or the sticky
And
button.
I'm like, here, you can take. I'll grab the good controller real quick. You take this crappy one. That's actually a pretty dirty trick, because he was guaranteed to lose at that point because his controller sucked. So.
From my experience, it was Nintendo, one of the original Nintendo. My friend had one, and he did not realize this, but when you put the cartridge in and you'd have to push it down, his springs had been worn out for some time, so it wouldn't stay down if it took any kind of shock at all. So I would always make sure to keep my controller as far back so the cord was taut. So if I even thought he was going to come close to winning or passing me up in the lane, I'd just yank on the controller real quick and knock the cartridge loose. He didn't caught on that, that's why I was doing that.
That's dirty.
Oh my god. I grew up with 3 brothers and a sister, and we learned to cheat. Well, 4 brothers and sisters. Jesus
now
Christ. How many
your
siblings
dirty
do I
secret
have?
revealed.
Yeah, well, the other thing was to always just run up and press the reset button. Oh, you didn't win.
That's a little bit more obvious, right
Yeah,
there.
that one's the obvious one. Alright.
I remember first time I started playing Blood Bowl on PC. I played with a point, and I had been watching Total Biscuit's tournament where he had a Chaos Dwarf team.
Oh, you mean the match where you basically made him rage quit that game?
Yes, that one. And I made a Chaos Dwarf team, and he's like, "Elves will be cool," and it didn't go well for him. That wasn't really a trick, though. I don't know. I didn't know that Chaos Dwarves were that OP, but now I do.
Versus new people, anyways, it's really tough.
Yeah, but a famous example of somebody using some sort of trick to screw over their competition. TI3, there were the 1v1 competitions. Ice.
For perspective, this is Dota 2, by the way, pro players.
Dota 2, 1v1, middle lane. They were both playing the same hero, Shadow Fiend. It was Ice. Again, I don't remember who he was playing against, but there's this item, this coal item you got around Christmas time. And it's just this black ball you can throw. And it doesn't do any damage, it has no stat effect, it's literally only a graphic. Shadow Fiend's default attack, his right-click attack, is similar looking. It's larger, has some red in it, but it's similar looking. It can throw you off. And he saved the coal until TI3, and for this 1v1, where he would pretend to throw the coal as an auto attack to try and fake the other person out into attacking their creep so he'd get the last hit easier. Or fake like he was attacking the person so he'd move back. And it was extremely funny.
Seems
Pretty
pretty
interesting. I never heard about that before, but that sounds pretty interesting.
There's videos of it. It's really funny.
Alright, let's move on just a little bit further now. We're going to be talking about Kickstarter. Let's bring that back up. We always love talking about Kickstarter because there's always something good to talk about Kickstarter. let's talk about games we would like to see remade. They're rehashing a lot of old classics thanks to Kickstarter. True, some of them have gotten in trouble for not getting the proper, rights at all to do it and got shut down. But a lot of them are actually getting away with it. Like we're talking about Mighty Nine, which is essentially Mega Man, just a little updated. For you, what older game have you played the living hell out of that you really wish someone would Kickstarter and make into an HD, beautiful version, top-of-the-line graphics, hell, voice acting, because probably didn't have it at the time? We're going to start with Battista. And he's like a deer in headlights.
Because there's no games that I really...
There's no older game that you played.
It's not that old. I'd like to see, because personally one of my favorite shooters, even though it's not that old, was Call of Duty World at War. I would really like to see that come back into popularity, redesigned, graphically enhanced, whatever. That's really all I want.
It's not asking too much. It's not even that old of a game, so the system wouldn't be that hard to update.
Yeah, I know. I love that game, and it's just like I couldn't play it for a few years, and like by the time I was able to, it's just like most of the community was gone.
All right, Hyper, let's hear from you.
Well, for me, it'd be one of two things. Both of them would work. They're both somewhat similar because they're both Star Wars games. Back when they were good Star Wars games. I would really love for them to remake Star Wars TIE Fighter, the flight sim. That game was freaking awesome.
Yeah, I
played the crap out of that game, and it's kind of a shame there's not really that many flight sims these days. There's some, but they're usually I don't know, but it's not the same.
Flight sims,
they're not as in depth where you've got to do all your
manipulate shields and all that.
Yeah, and I would really love for them to remake that, or I'd even take X-Wing Alliance. Either one, I don't care. Or I'd like for them to remake a proper remake of Star Wars Rebellion, which is the strategy game, which they made Empire at War, which that game was good, but it was basically only the space battles that were good, and the ground battles were bad, and the campaign map was just it was disappointing. Star Wars Rebellion was really when I first got that game, I was pretty little, and it was really hard for me at the time. But that was a nice challenge, and I got the instruction book. I thought it came with a strategy guide. I'm like, wait, no, that's not a strategy guide. That's the freaking instruction booklet. It was this huge thing. Let me see if I can find this. But yeah, those are the two that I would want. I'd really like for those to be remade. I think there's a big following for them too.
All right, now from one of our oldest talkers here, Tykell.
Have any of you ever played Hover? It was this really old game for the Windows 95.
You really do sound like you're an old person for that one. No, tell us about it. What was the point?
One of the first computers we had in our house came with this CD, and on it was a bunch of different games for Win95, and one of the games was Hover. And it's basically you run around and you try and catch these flags before the other person can, and you're sort of like a floaty bumper car, and it's ridiculous, and the graphics are terrible, and it was really fun.
Okay. I don't recall that game. Does sound familiar, though.
That's a pretty unique concept, though. They don't make them like that anymore, I guess.
What, fun?
No, bumper cars and capture the flag.
Well,
yeah, it was pretty nice.
But I did link a picture of the instruction booklet for that Star Wars Rebellion. It's kind of hard from the perspective, but take a look of that.
No, you can tell it's at least 30 pages.
Yeah, and it's an inch and a half thick. It's 100 pages. It's ridiculous. It is a tome.
I was thinking about this subject. I was like, what games would I really want to see remade in this new age high definition stuff? And I thought about Well, first of all, I would love to see the original Zelda back. I am not a fan of the 3D Zeldas or anything like that. So, going back to the top-down adventure mode, like, not Super Nintendo one, because unfortunately that one held your hand too much. The original one didn't. But, there was also Wolfenstein, but they modernized it and made it look like crap. Something about being stuck in it where you didn't have to jump. You literally was just going through hordes and hordes of Nazis to kill. I thought that was just awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't know if any of you would even remember playing it. Oh, geez, what was the name? Geez, I'm feeling really retarded right now because I can't remember.
Brain fart.
Yeah, no, it literally just, I was about to say it and then idea popped out of my head. Quick, play me off, Johnny.
Well, Go ahead, Battista.
This one older game I really loved as a kid, James Pond. I played on Atari.
This game looks ridiculous, and the name
ridiculously
just
good.
Really, is that what they did? They really went there.
Yeah, it's side-scrolling James Bond action, but you play as a codfish or as some sort of fucking fish. Really fun though.
Yeah, I also another idea I had was freaking Chips Challenge. If you guys remember that one, it's kind of an old one, but I remember I played a lot of that game. It got pretty tough later on, and that was a good game for the time.
I have never seen that game in my life.
I don't know what they would do exactly besides just make the graphics better, but I think they might be able to do something with it. I don't know. So
I don't think I ever got past like level 50. It was really difficult.
Yeah, I don't remember. I just know there was what was it? There was like some like enemies that homed in on you, and later on, and those ones were tough. Like you had to like race them on certain levels.
And then all the god awful ice. I hated the ice.
Oh gosh, it's like imagine the ice puzzles in Pokemon, but like 100 times worse and actually challenging.
So we're talking Nintendo hard.
This is like, I don't know, Atari hard. It's really old. It's a really old game.
Damn.
Oh
Atari.
man, have you guys ever played Tank Pong for the Atari?
That
Tank
sounds really
Pong?
familiar.
Yeah.
I played Pong. I don't remember playing Tank Pong.
But the Tank Pong. That was where it was at.
I remember there was a game called Battle Tanks where it was you versus another tank and you could reflect your shots off the wall.
It wasn't so much maybe it was that version of it, but it was like tanks and also Pong in that you were a tank but your shots bounced around and then you could shoot yourself on accident.
Was it this game right here?
Oh, yeah, that's what I think it's.
Yes, that.
Okay.
They have remade that multiple times.
Oh, that's fun.
Essentially, that's what most car combat games are now. If you think about Twisted Metal and all that, that's what those are.
I really want it to have the original graphics. I just want to be able to play it on an updated computer. Because
I'm almost sure you can find somebody who's doing that one, because I can't imagine that being copywritten.
Yeah, but I don't know. It would be kind of hard because I guess maybe you could have someone with like a keyboard and the other person could use the mouse or something.
You have WASD and you can use the numpad.
True.
And now we all sound really old.
Oh, well, some of
Remember
us are.
that Atari we used to play back? No, I didn't. Atari was before me. I was more of a Super Nintendo
Atari.
person.
I had an original Atari, and I'm pretty sure I had a Commodore 64 as well.
I still have an original Atari.
I actually rebought one I saw in a flea market just to play frickin' ice hockey.
We got a Sega Genesis and an Atari.
Speaking of Sega, I had finally remembered the game I was thinking of, which was Kid Chameleon.
Oh, yes! That game was so hard!
That game was so awesome for what it was, and it got such underrated view. The fact that you had the same character, but based on whatever hat he had on, he did something different.
The game was hard.
The bosses were a pain in the ass. Literally, if you've played Terraria, you know the Wall of Flesh. That's what the
Yes.
bosses were in Kid Chameleon, except you didn't always have the right frickin' helmet to fight the guy, so you're always bouncing around trying to run away.
And also, speaking of Sega Genesis, since you guys seem to maybe you might know, there was, and this is always a thing when
You put on an old man voice here, did you hear that?
No, no, but there's always a thing when you played a game, maybe when you were little, but you don't remember the name of it. It's kind of hard to look it up sometimes. So maybe if this sounds familiar, there was this one game I played a long time ago, but it was at somebody else's house, and I don't remember what it was called. But it was on the Sega Genesis, and it was a arcadey space combat game where there was maybe a handful, like maybe 10 or so different ships you could pick from, and each one had its own different like shape and style of shot that it had, and you just kind of flew around and shot at each other till one of you died, I guess. But that's the most I can really. That's the best way I could describe it. It was on a. It was a front. It was a top-down view. Is also so like you weren't like first person. It was like you were viewing from the top down.
At first, I thought you were talking about a game called Biohazard Battle, but when you said it was top down, I was like, no, that's not the name. Shit. It's not Herzog's Wii, which was a fucking awesome game, by the way.
If you don't remember, I wouldn't blame you because it has eluded me. I've tried looking it up. I cannot find out what the heck that game was.
All right, you guys heard it here. If you want to post a comment, if you can find that game for Hyper K2, we would most appreciate that because we're old and lazy and can't look things up ourselves.
Yeah, and I'll look and I'll see if I recognize what the game looks like, then I'll go from there.
We're going to touch on one more little subject since we actually have a female talker this time. Tykell, do you feel that women in gaming, we're going to say women, I'm going to say little girls because women are the choice word here.
Here we go.
Do you feel that that they do compete on par with male players, and if so, do you think they're actually getting the respect they deserve? Because we talked about, we may have talked about this, I don't remember, about in TI there was an all-female team, and they talked a lot of trash and did rather poorly. But them aside, because I know they don't represent everyone, do you feel that women are getting respect in gaming that they should deserve? And do you think they actually do hold their own more often than not?
I think it depends. Just like how it does with guys. Because, there are guys who are terrible at video games, and they do terribly, and they talk a lot of trash, and they just fail miserably everywhere. And girls, I think, do the same exact thing. So you can have girls that are really good at whatever game, you can have girls that are really bad at whatever game. I think it's just that, for some reason, it's seen as more of a rarity. Even though there are a lot of girls that play video games, it's not really as socially acceptable as it is for guys.
I was going to say, do you feel it's because the sheer number of testosterone lacking men with acne on their face living in their mom's basement who actually are scared of women saying these things? Or do you feel like I said, it's just because girls have yet to really step up and showcase themselves?
I think it kind of depends because when, for example, I've played a lot of TF2. I know I keep coming back to that, but I have. And on some servers, I would talk, and I would be heckled because people would be like, oh wow, it's a girl. And I would be basically harassed out of the server. And I think that that's why, for some people, if they're a girl, they don't speak up at all. Because there are servers that have been really friendly and nice, and there are servers that have not. And it's not even because I said, wow, I hate Republicans, or something like that. It's because I'm a girl. And I can't
no one here is accusing you of being a girl. But Battista and Hyper, what do you guys feel? She's touching on a lot of good subjects here, and she has pointed out that people will either attack or defend or even just neutrally just don't give a shit.
I think a lot of it is that there's probably a lot of girls playing games, like especially like playing TF2 and stuff, that just don't say anything, so you wouldn't know the difference. So okay, there you go. It's like,
do you
you're
feel
not
they
gonna be
should
like
step up?
asking.
Do you think they should say something like,
No,
"Ha! I did just shoot your monkey ass for jumping off the balcony like a retard."
Well, sure, if they want, but usually they're not gonna go out of their way to mention, I just did that, and oh, by the way, I'm a girl. Like, that usually I don't think happens.
That's kind of promoting gender disparity.
But if they did, I don't know, that's kind of like, at that point, that's not really a good thing for their case, being like in your face about it. Like,
so they should keep the trash talking down to a minimum.
Well, I think I don't know, I'm not a really big, I don't like trash talk in general, but like, if you're gonna do it, like, then you probably don't need to bring your gender into it. Trash talk is good enough.
Like it or not, a lot of guys do. They can't help but bring it in. I effed your mom and blah blah blah. I just feel that women should speak up more. I have no problem if a girl kicks my ass out of game. I'm usually more impressed when they're not freaking boasting about it and they're humble about it. That surprises me when people are modest. Oh, you won. Good game though. We had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up here in just a couple minutes. Let's get final thoughts in. Just let us know what you're thinking. If any of the subjects we talked about today, you had something you wanted to say but we had to go on, anything like that. Let's start with Battista since he's at the top of the list.
Ryan Gosling and Doritos are pretty bomb.
I don't think he makes his own Doritos.
He should. All right, serious thoughts. Well, actually, I'm just gonna say what we were just say something about what we were just talking about. Yeah, trash talk meant specifically identifying yourself as female or any race or anything specifically, any sort of cultural identifier is just promoting inequality and racism and sexism. Like, trash talk all you want, fine. I trash talk so much. I yell at people all the time in games. I'm a jerk. But, I don't know.
You're that guy.
Yeah, I'm that guy. But I believe there's an equal proportion of bad players among... pretty much equal among pretty much all genders, among all sexes, because, weird stuff.
You kind of painted
races.
Yourself into a corner there, didn't you?
No. I mean, there are cases of females with neither male nor female chromosomes, so they're neither sex, stuff like that. Well, I said female, but they look female, but they don't have correct chromosomes. I think
I saw that episode of Star Trek, and I think Riker should have just shut the fuck up and left that chick alone.
Oh my god. Anyway,
right,
among all races, all nationalities, an equal proportion of good and bad players. So, I mean, just pointing yourself out as one or the other is just promoting racism.
Well, but it's also self-identifying. I like being a short Irish guy, so...
Well, yeah, but if you say, like, yeah, I just kicked your ass and I'm Irish, it's making it seem like it was improbable that you would have.
But see, usually if somebody does that, it's because somebody else has said, oh, well, this person won't ever do this or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's true, but
it's
I mean, like...
usually triggered.
That's true. But if it's a problem that's, like, not hidden, like gender inequality in inequality in games...
So if I log into a server with the name white male supremacist, of course I'm going to get flack for it.
Yes.
Of course I should. But I'm not, by the way. I'm not. Hyper, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and say, though, that even though we were talking about the video game movies things, I was going to say probably you shouldn't ever do it, but I don't know. Kind of depends. I've yet to see. I'm sure you could probably could do it well somehow, but usually it just ends up not working well. So you might as well just not do it.
I usually feel that the games they grab are usually the worst subject for a movie.
Yeah, they don't grab games that are actually that actually have good potential for movies. That they grab games that have like I don't know, that have way too much story in it to be able to be presented in a 2-hour movie format.
Alrighty.
Or that there's not enough story to even
Or
make
like
a real
enough,
movie.
yeah. Yeah,
Well,
stuff like
weren't
that.
they were making a movie off of what game was it? It had no story at all, and they were going to make a game based on it, or not a
Was
game,
it-
a movie.
Oh, it was a Battleship.
Yeah,
Right?
well, yeah. Please, let's do another one of those.
Well, I mean, I don't know. That's along the lines of Pacific Rim, where it's not meant to be like have story, like great story. It's supposed to be like pure action.
Let's
loosely
make Connect
based off
4
of.
the movie.
Yeah, loosely based off of it's supposed to be action.
What if
But-
they did TV series instead?
I would promote a TV series for a lot of games more than I would for a movie.
Well, yeah. Again, it would also depend on whether or not that game had a story at all.
The rising dominance of the TV format.
All right,
It's so good.
Tykell, final thought.
I miss my Atari. Also, what we were talking about before, bringing up like, oh, I just kicked your ass, and I'm a girl, or and I'm an Irish short guy, or whatever.
Wait, you are?
Yes, of course.
I thought so.
Sometimes I've noticed that is not brought up by the person. It ends up being brought up by someone else. Like, I could say something totally unrelated to me being a girl, or even trash talking, and then it will be like, oh, hey, are you 12 or are you a girl? And I will have not even suggested anything of the sort.
So, as I said, it's usually something triggers that reaction. There's got to be some kind of fuel to fire the reaction.
Well, I'm assuming is that after you use the voice command?
Yeah.
Or voice? Well, that's just because they hear your voice.
Well,
I know, but I mean, I wasn't going to say anything about it. I wasn't going to be like, hey guys, I'm a girl.
Oh, well,
I was
that's
just
fine
talking.
if
I'm
they
a
hear
lady
you
and I'm
and they
going to own all you.
if they hear you and they just ask. I mean, I don't know, it's not really that big of a deal. Depending, I mean, depends on what their motive is. But I mean, if they're just curious, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that,
there are some people
but
who are fairly curious, and that's okay. But there's a lot more people who are kind of aggressive about it.
Well, also, I'm sure they also become quite stalkerish too.
Yes.
Let that be a lesson to a lot of you guys out there. Girls do not like it when you stalk them online. It's not welcomed. Unless you bring them lots of flowers and diapers. Final thought for myself.
That's sexist.
My final thought is, I am a dirty sexist pig. I'm sorry. Everybody, thank you for coming. This has been a wonderful evening, and good night.
Good night!
Good night.
Right.